Hello, friends and lovers. My name is Rachel, or Feminist Supervillain on Tumblr. About a week ago, somebody sent me an anonymous comment or ask about how I should make a podcast. If you're seeing this video, you can see the rest of my channel and can tell that I did that a few years ago where I rated book suggestions. In the spirit of giving one specific dude what he wanted and trying my hand at editing again, I said I would answer all the asks that I got that week. I expected a lot fewer responses than this. A friend of mine brought this concept up during a chat, and Steven, I know half of these are probably you. Congratulations on your engagement. Anyways, here we go. What do I want for Christmas this year? Thanks for this question, Mom. I know you struggle when it gets close to the holidays. I have a list of stuff on a Google document, so if I see something in June that seems cool, I put it on the list so I don't forget about it by the end of the year. And the breakdown of it is, it's mostly cheap stuff because my family, I think the most expensive thing I ever got was a bike, maybe, or a museum membership that I never got to use because then COVID hit. We've got books that I didn't get around to buying this year, a bunch of D&D stuff because whoever is in charge of Critical Role's merchandising is really killing it. But what I really want for the holidays this year, world peace, just peace of mind and happiness for the people I love. What more could you ask for, really? I was in theater for 6 years, working everything they'd let me do. I loved building sets, I loved setting lights, playing music over the system on weekend build days, and 6 years of shows, that kind of blurs together after a while. We did some not super recognizable musicals in high school, a few student plays. There was this one with a giant rotating set that would go a little off the edge of the stage. That was a 3-story set, and the back was also part of the set, which was insane. That was maybe the hardest one to build because it was a public school, so we only had so much to spend on our wood budget, but it also had to be sturdy because an actor had to fall down the stairs of the set a few times and not break the railing or his tailbone. It would kind of have to be a high school one. The college shows I did just didn't have the same energy. Everyone was super studious and trying to become a theater teacher once they graduated. So, although we did a lot of fun shows in college, for the overall show, you just couldn't beat the energy of the people from my senior year of high school. What does loneliness mean to you? Gosh, hell of a question. I'm sure COVID has brought out that feeling in a lot of people. I think loneliness comes from alienation, from the sudden realization of foreignness of the self in a physical situation. Loneliness to me occurs when I realize that if I removed myself from an equation, nobody would notice. That I could walk away from a group of people and everyone would sort of move to fill in that gap. And sometimes that can be freeing for me to just be able to step back and observe, or to straight up just walk away and do something else that brings me better joy. But usually it's that quick coming to terms with this idea that, you are individual in the universe, but you are very small and nobody is thinking of you because no one cares. Being alone is fine when it's a choice. Loneliness, in my mind, isn't a choice. It's a sudden, very unnerving experience. I started playing TTRBGs in college. None of them lasted very long because we were all really busy. My first official start, I say, was in graduate school. I was avoiding writing a massive paper for a Russian history class and somehow found Critical Role on YouTube. I watched, no joke, like 40 episodes all at once. I did not want to write that paper. I showed CR to a college friend who was living in the area, and next I heard from her, she had bought all of the 5th edition books and was reading into rules and lore and hit me up with a, hey, if I start a game, do you want to be in it? And I got super excited, wrote 8 pages of backstory, and we met to start playing this game that is still going like 5 years later. So because I've been playing that character the longest, Tanith, who is an elven rogue slash fighter slash sorcerer slash a lot of homebrewy shit going on, is a blast to play. She is the closest to me, like my personality, probably. Although all of the characters that I play have a little bit of my personality. My other favorite character to play, I drew up for a last minute one shot. I had like 10 minutes to make a Pathfinder character, and I came up with a halfling ranger who's just the saddest little dude. That group has a lot of talkers in it, so my character for the main game was built to be more strong but silent type. I wanted this character to be able to interject, but he's having an exceptionally sad life. So everything reminds him of his recently ex-wife who took his dog and the house in the divorce, and everything he does is to feel something and forget. I don't like playing optimized characters. Tanith was my first, so she's as cool as I can possibly make her, but I love playing characters with flaws and cracks because everyone usually makes a character to try to live out the fantasy of their best self. But when you've been playing as many characters as I have, the optimization becomes kind of boring. It stops feeling real. And I want the fantasy world that I create with my friends to feel as real as possible, I guess. I started reading some Latvian poetry because a person who claims to be Latvian or of Latvian heritage started messaging me, and I wanted to have a little background on culture. As a historian, I'm naturally curious, but I'm also American, so I had to look up Latvia on a map. I work in a college library. However, there are only a few books on Latvia about the history and culture, some politics that are physically there, so I picked up the 2 poetry books available. So here's some poetry. But I dare not withdraw my shoulder, as my shoulder supports your hand, as your hand may drop and get severed, and hitting the ground meet its death, as a rope from the tree of heaven may loop as a noose around your neck. And perhaps it is only your hand, which is resting upon my shoulder, that gives you an ultimate hold on the earth. That one was called But I Dare Not Withdraw by Ojars Vakietis. Please forgive me. I tried to look up how to pronounce that and couldn't find anything. And I'm not incredibly familiar with Latvian names. What appeals to me about this one is that it's short, but also that it's so straightforward. You don't need to know the history of this person or their country for it to speak to you. To me, when I first read it, it meant I am thinking of you in all of the things that I do. And anyone anywhere could understand that sentiment, I think. When I was working on doing this video, I was thinking about how to dress differently and do jump cuts or some other kind of like movie magic trick. And then I realized that the lighting in my apartment is terrible, so maybe we'll save that for another time, another concept. So, you're telling me that those 4 months you were in the future. Yes. Like a year in the future, a decade? Were you with our cousin from the far future? I am not supposed to give away too much information, but if we are still in 2021, then I was 17 years from now. 17 years? Where was I living? How much am I making at that job I'm at? Do I finally have that big fancy library I always wanted? I was notified before I left that telling you anything important would result in a time incident with lots of fire. Well, how did I find you in the future if you didn't tell me where you're going to be? Apparently, our cousin from the far future put a track in. Wait, you're being tracked? By whoever sent me here. And also that app on your phone's second page? Screen? I don't have. Oh, the app is literally called Find a Friend. Did 45-year-old me have any wisdom for you? They said not to tell you, but they really appreciate all of your hard work. Now that I'm saying it, it seems like they knew I would tell you. Oh, that's really sweet of me. Alright, well, if you can't drop anything more substantial, can you at least tell me if I still have the mohawk? Yes, no worries, cousin. You still have the mohawk. So many quotes that I love come from poetry or from books that I didn't like but had one line that really spoke to me. So instead of thinking of quotes, I looked at all of the books that I read this year and chose my favorite one, which was Beowulf, as translated by Maria Devana Headley, and my favorite quote from it. We are all going to die, and most of us won't go out in glory. Here's what matters, though, for men. Not living, but living on in legend. And I have a lot of emotions about that as a historian, as a classicist, as a human. Anyways, this book is great if you loved high school English, and also if you hated English as a subject, this book was made for you too. It's an in-joke that you don't have to be in on to understand, which at this point is kind of what translation should be. So, I just got off the phone with my dad. Was it about your holiday? Yes. You probably shouldn't have tried. I probably shouldn't have tried to eat the turkey whole. Yes, I know that now. Sometimes people send me links, and I have to imagine that they're doing it for advertisement purposes. If you don't feel like typing all of that out, it takes you to a page for a very expensive Pacific Rim figure. I have student loans to pay off, but oh my god, it lights up. It's got a forehead beacon. Oh, the vortex turbine glows. It's got a chainsword attachment. I live in a state where a lot of people I see at the grocery store aren't wearing masks, and the local published data would suggest that it's not because these people are all vaccinated. I wouldn't go to a concert because of how packed it usually is. I'll probably be wearing masks for a while and continue to get booster shots, but I'll only go to one massive gathering a year. and smaller gatherings only when I know that people have had the shot or are going to be wearing masks. Are you doing any conventions this year? Yes, exactly one. I'm traveling to Chicago for C2E2, which is one of my favorite comic conventions that I've ever been to. And even though it's going to be a little smaller this year, a bunch of really great artists are going to be there. I will be dressing up. I won't say as what because, true to form, I won't have it all together until the night before, probably. But I always post pictures to social media, so watch that space, I guess. I feel like I should say something YouTube to end this, like subscribe if you liked this video. But I don't post regularly, so there's no point in asking you to do that. So we'll just end on a thanks for the questions, thanks for giving me the opportunity to work on my editing skills, and I hope whatever holidays you're celebrating turn out great. Alright, if we're doing this, I think I'm gonna need a coffee. The lighting in here really sucks.